Good evening, everybody. It's John here from Shooter to You, welcoming you along to another of our live streams for A-level economics. And tonight we are concentrating on demand and supply side policies. So, demand side policies, we tend to think about fiscal policies and monetary policies, and then supply side policies. We're putting them all together in one go. Very warm welcome to you if you're joining us live tonight. If you are joining us live, of course it is All Hallows Night. It's Halloween night, isn't it? So forgive myself and either of the presenters if you hear a little knock on our door with somebody asking or shouting out trick or treat. I'm hoping it won't happen, but if it does, you can tell that it is genuinely live. A very warm welcome to you, and of course a massive warm welcome to you if you're watching this in replay as well. I'm joined tonight by Penny on the left of the screen, and for the first time in over a year, we've got Kathy in the middle. Yes. Good evening, both. Good evening.
Hello. Really good to be back. Hello.
Good to see you both. Good to see you both. Okay, so if you've not watched one of these before, we've got about 30 to 5 minutes now of fast-paced revision activities, concentrating on demand and supply side policies, as I've said already. We've got lots of questions for you. We'd love to see your responses and your answers in the chat window if you can. Some will be really straightforward, one-letter responses to a multi-choice quiz. Some will be a little bit longer, where we might require you to put in a full word or even a full sentence, and we would love to see those responses. And we'll try and give some shout outs as we're going along to anybody who does manage to give us some answers. I think we might be ready to get started. Shall I hand over to you, Kathy?
Yes, these are mine. So we've got 4 multiple choice questions to start off with. The first one, hopefully relatively easy. So the main function of a politically independent central bank is to facilitate economic stability by. So which of these do you think is right? Is it A, keeping interest rates low to encourage spending and investment? B, using interest rates to achieve low and stable rates of inflation? C, raise exchange rates to improve a country's terms of trade? Or D, using taxes and government spending to influence economic growth? So I'm looking at the chat and all I can see is B's. So if you've not entered your answer yet, just do that really quickly now. So far, everyone's saying B. John, shall we reveal the answer? And it is, of course, B. So the main function of a politically independent central bank is trying to achieve these low and stable rates of inflation. And one of the main policy instruments they're going to use is interest rates. So super well done if you got that right. John, could we have question number 2, please? Okay, so which of the following has a positive impact on the level of aggregate demand in the economy? So again, it'd be great if you all put your answers on the chat as soon as you think you know. Is it tight monetary policy? A. B. Contractionary monetary policy? C, lower interest rates? Or D, higher interest rates? So again, I can see a sea of C's, as it were. Everyone that I'm looking at the moment is saying C, so just give you a moment or two more in case anyone else wants to put their answers on here. Oh, and John's done the answer already. I was busy looking at the chat there. I'm going to have to speed up, evidently. All right, so A and B are wrong, of course. Tight and contractionary essentially mean the same thing, and they're going to dampen down aggregate demand, as is D, higher interest rates. So our correct answer, as everyone on the chat said, is C. Right, John, could we have question 3 then? So which of the following would be deemed a suitable fiscal policy to tackle a negative output gap in the economy? So same thing, when you think you've got your answer, pop it on the chat. A, increased income tax and reduced transfer payments. I'll start reading these while I wait to see answers come in. There's one. Joseph has got D. Let's just see whether others come in. If not, I'll keep reading while everyone has to think about it. B, reduce government expenditure and higher direct taxes to stimulate aggregate demand in the economy. Now got a number of people saying D. Here we go. Lots of D's. So far, there's been unanimous agreement on these multiple choice questions. John, would you like to give us the answer? And of course, the correct answer, as everybody said again, is D. So to boost AD, to tackle a negative output gap, you want to increase government expenditure and lower your direct taxes. That would be one way of doing it. So very well done, everyone. John, can we have the last of this set of multiple choice questions then? Which of the following is a type of supply side policy? So answers again on the chat. Is it increased use of protectionist policies? Rising taxes on profits generated by research and development, rising anti-competitive practices, or market-based reforms to increase contestability in product markets. Now, I've only just done contestability with my upper six, so let me just quickly explain that term for anyone that doesn't know. Basically, increasing contestability means it is easier for new firms to enter a market. So I can see I've got some new Ds coming in on the chat, I believe. So I'm going to assume that people think the answer to this one is D. And John, are they right? And of course they are. So increasing contestability is a key type of supply side policy. So really well done. 100%, I reckon, on these first four multiple choice questions. So let me hand over to Penny now, who's got a different activity.
Thanks, Kathy. Yes, it did look like 100%. So let's see if you can keep that up as we go through a different approach here. Okay, so we've got 8 different possible types of government spending for you there. And what we're asking you to do is see if you can split them down, which ones represent capital spending and which ones represent current spending. So we have 1 minute, 60 seconds starting now as the clock starts. There you go. Just note down the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 that you think are capital and the ones that you think are current. And then the chat window, you can send through the ones that you think are capital spending and the ones you think are current spending. Yeah, thank you, Chi. It's a good idea. Let's have the capital spending ideas. Which reference numbers are for capital spending? Okay, that's your minute up. So now that you've had a good look, let's see. Can you put in the numbers of the policies that you think might be capital spending? And we'll assume that the ones you don't put in, you think are current spending. So Reza, very quick, has come in with 3, 5, and 6. Joseph, some agreement, 3, 6, 7, and 8. Sheila is saying 3, 5, 6, and 7, and the other ones are current spending. Any other ideas here for capital spending? Let's just give you a moment to see. And oh, there you go. There's Hannah. Well done. 3, 5, 6, and 8. Charlie saying 3, 6, and 8. So there's some agreement there, but not necessarily exactly the same. John, can we sort these out and see which is which. There you go. So on the capital spending, I think lots of you did get this. It is 3, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so we're saying new fighter jets for 3. We're saying flood defence schemes, construction of motorways, and funding of national broadband provision are all capital spending. If you have a think about this, what those ones are doing is adding really to the UK's productive capacity. They're things that will help to shift LRAS out to the right and improve or increase our productive capacity. You know, more motorways will give us better infrastructure, as will funding of broadband provision. Flood defence schemes might mean that we can make better use of the land that we've got. So land that you couldn't previously use for building or for some other economic use, perhaps you can now. New fighter jets, you know, it's not necessarily something that you want to have to use in reality, but on the other hand, it does actually increase the productive capacity, let's say, of the Royal Air Force. So those would all be capital spending. The other ones, still government spending, salaries of staff, road maintenance, budget, the army logistics supplies, and the interest payments on your debt. They're all still forms of government spending, but what those ones are doing is sort of maintaining your capacity. So those ones will be adding to aggregate demand for sure, but they're not necessarily shifting aggregate supply out as well. Okay, good. Now let's have a look at the second set you've got here. Now these ones are really important. So we're looking at the difference between supply side policies that are classified as interventionist and supply side policies that are classified as market based. You actually quite often get exam questions which ask you specifically for one or the other. So it's a really good idea to learn these so that you can list out which ones sort of fall on which side of that split. So here comes your 60 seconds. And let's start with typing in, please, what you think are interventionist supply side policies. Okay, there you go. That's the minute. So, oh, well done. So Joseph says 3, 5, 6, and 7. Reza has come up with maybe 5 of them. 1, 2, 5, 7, and 8. That's a very different list. That's interesting, isn't it? Sheila says 1, 5, 6, and 7. Charlie says 3, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, we've got some different ideas here. You know, this is good. This is really making you think. I can see that. So let's just see if anyone else wants to have a go at putting those in. And then maybe while you're doing that, John, let's see if we can sort these out and what the breakdown is. Okay, there you go. So the interventionist, 3, 5, 6, and 7. Did any of you get that? Charlie had that. Joe had that. Well done. And the others are the market-based ones. So again, let's just have a quick look at these and think about what do we mean. So in interventionist supply side policy is where the government is intervening directly in order to make a change in behaviour in the market or to correct a market failure as they perceive the market failure. So nationalising a failing railway network, they would intervene in order to try and improve the efficiency, the level of service. Higher tax on the wealthy might be to redistribute incomes to create greater equality. Import controls to support domestic markets, they might do if they can see that domestic markets are losing out to overseas imports. An increase in the living wage might be, to improve the labour supply. So all of those are direct interventions in the market. Whereas the other ones, now these are still government actions, things like cutting government spending, reducing regulation, anti-competitive practice rules, and allowing inward skilled labour migration. Those all take government action. But what the action is aimed at is freeing up the market so it can respond with a liberalisation and providing market incentives. So as I said, you quite often get questions on exam papers which ask you specifically for market-based or for interventionist supply-side policy. So it's a good idea to learn the breakdown between those two. Well done for all of the work that you were doing on that. Thank you. Sheila is saying, are import controls protectionism? Yes, they are. Okay, handing over to Kathy now for some bubble quiz questions.
Cool. Excellent, Penny. And I couldn't agree with you more over how important it is to be able to categorize supply side policies correctly. Otherwise, you risk losing quite a lot of marks. So, bubble quiz now. We've got 3 sets of questions. I'm just slightly sad these aren't pumpkins. I think as we're doing this on Halloween, there was some scope there, but still the bubble quiz is good fun. So for anyone that hasn't done this before, the way this differs from multiple choice is there could be any number of correct answers between 0 all the way up to 4. So, John, thank you very much. So, we've got question number 1. So, policies used to target specific key exporting industries in order to achieve economic growth in that sector can have which of these effects? So, which of these do you think are right? Okay, which of these are right? Remember, that might be none of them, all of them, or any of those numbers in between. So when you're ready, add to the chat which you think the correct answers are. Give you a moment to have a look at them. Just see. I'm not seeing anything on the chat yet, but I've got a little bit of a lag. So we've got C has come up as our first answer that we think might be correct. Let's just see what other people think. Remember, there might be more than one. So again, we've got a number of people think it's C. Have a look at the others and see whether you think anything else. Right, Sheila's come in with C and D. So those of you that said C, do you think it could be D as well? Hannah and Alice agree. So we've got 3 people now. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. Hannah thinks A and C. So we've got lots of people thinking C. James now has come in with D. Charlie thinks A, C, and D. So a bit of a mix here. Let's see. Nobody on there thinking B at all. John, can we have our correct answers then? So the correct answers we've got are C and D. So let's just have a quick chat about this. So we're targeting key export industries to get them to grow. So C has got to be right, hasn't it? If you want to grow faster in your export industries, then you need to employ more labour. So C is going to be right. And if your export industries are growing faster, you're going to be exporting more. So all else equal, your current account balance will also be improved. Now, A and B. Now, it's possible it could cause a budget surplus, but there's a lot more sort of links need to be in place before that happens. So if your economy is growing more quickly, then your budget deficit might be reducing, but that's quite a long way off a budget surplus. And if we look at B, the only way you're going to be lowering your national debt is if you are in fact running that budget surplus. So C and D are the most likely correct answers here. John, can we have bubble quiz number 2 then, please? Which statements apply to the use of expansionary monetary policy? So there's a little bit more to read on these bubbles. Same thing, which ones do you think are correct? So you can wait and put all of your correct answers on the screen together, or just add a single answer if you think that's right. Which statements apply to the use of expansionary monetary policy? Now this is where I should have been paying more attention. So is that C and D, this one, or the last one? Hannah has come in with A, B, and D.
I think
Joseph,
Hannah is the first, yeah.
Yes. Joseph, A, B, and D. James, A and C. Sheila, A and B. Let's have a look and see whether anyone else wants to add anything. Alice, A and B. John, would you like to give us the answers then? Okay, so A, B, and D. So a lot of people were correct on that. Statements which apply to the use of expansionary monetary policy. So A is going to be right, our expansionary monetary policy. So for example, lower interest rates will boost aggregate demand, so shifting it to the right, and for that reason will close recessionary or deflationary gaps. And D2 is correct, isn't it? Policies that make borrowing and investment more attractive. C's got to be wrong. That would apply to a contractionary monetary policy. So super well done if you got those right. And we've got one more bubble quiz remaining. So which of the following are regarded as advantages of supply side policies? So which of these do you think are advantages of supply side policies? Is it all of them? None of them? Somewhere in between? Add your answers to the chat as soon as you think you know. I've taken a note this time, a mental note of the last answer for question 2, so I can spot when the new ones come in. So Joseph's got B and D. B and D from Joseph. Let's see what others think. Do people agree? So I've now got A, B and D, B and D. So lots of agreement on B and D, or now B, C and D. So we've had all of the options mentioned now. If you would like to add your answer, just do it super quickly. John, would you like to show us the correct answers that we've got? So we have B and D. So one of the key advantages of supply side policies is, of course, that you're increasing economic growth, long run growth, without increasing inflation, because your productive capacity is increasing alongside your aggregate demand. And D, of course, is a key way, or one of the ways in which supply side policies work, because it makes the factor markets work more efficiently? I have a little bit of sympathy with A, that it can help to avoid stagflation. So stagflation, a situation where your economy is stagnating or in recession at the same time as you are experiencing inflation. But I think the two very obvious answers here that are correct are B and D. So really well done. I'm going to hand back to Penny now for some on balance questions.
Thanks, Kathy. Okay, so keep your thinking caps on, because here what we're going to do is start working on your analysis skills. And maybe we could call these advantages and disadvantages. Maybe we could call them treats and tricks, following on with that Halloween theme. I don't know. Okay, so we are thinking about something that was announced by the Prime Minister, by Rishi Sunak, in the spring, which was a plan for all pupils in England to study maths up to the age of 18. So what we'd like you to do, please, is outline an advantage and a disadvantage. Think about the two sides of that plan for government spending to enable all pupils in England to study maths up to the age of 18. And we're going to go for advantages first. So have a think about it. I'll give you some time. What would be the economic advantages? You can just type one in for me. One economic advantage of using government spending to enable all pupils in England to study maths up to the age of 18. Okay, let's give you a moment to think about that and type something into the window there. I look forward to seeing your ideas. I'm sure they're going to be cracking ideas that we see here. Reza, very quick there, is suggesting a more greatly skilled workforce. Okay, and Reza, can you take that one a bit further? Maybe you can think about why is that an advantage? Joseph says more highly skilled competitive workforce. Okay, that starts to bring an extra element. Workforce more occupationally mobile, says William. Okay, so again, that adds a bit more detail, a bit more use of economic terminology as well, which is good to see. Any other thoughts? Can you think about it from a different perspective, perhaps, as well as from the workforce point of view? Charlie says higher skilled labour, higher quality of labour, increased LRAS, that's nice, due to the higher factors of production or more valuable factors of production. So you've got increased economic growth. That's really great. Well done, Charlie. Any other thoughts? William, mobile, yes. Ray says maths provides skills that make people more employable. Nice. Okay, thank you for adding to that idea, Ray. So you've got ability to understand data and finances. Great. Okay, really nice ideas coming through there. We've got a couple here that we thought of earlier for you. Let's put those up. So the two advantages we've got here. First of all, it would be easier for employers to find employees with the skills that they seek. So if employers are finding that they need people with numeracy skills, there will be more of those available in the labour market. Maybe that cuts the costs for those employers. And then we've also got better numeracy skills. This is what a lot of you were picking up on, will lead to better employment prospects for individuals. So now we're thinking about what impact does that have on the pay and the standard of living for the average workforce in the UK. Maybe it gives them better pay and therefore a better standard of living. And Sheila, just looking in the chat window there again, was picking up on this idea about businesses being more competitive, particularly because we have a competitive advantage in financial services. Lovely. There's some really good use of application to context for the UK as well. Okay, now let's see if you can do equally well with the disadvantages. What ideas have you got for a disadvantage for the plan to use government spending for all pupils in England to study maths up to the age of 18? You always need to balance out your ideas in your analysis, particularly to enable yourselves to start thinking about evaluating the point. Maybe there's an alternative view that you could take, a different perspective, think about different stakeholders. Okay, Razor says lack of maths teachers, so suggesting we haven't got enough resources in teaching resources here, increases government spending on incentivising supply. So maybe that's the way that the spending would have to be used. So I suppose maybe that's a feature of it. Is that a disadvantage, Razor? Is it maybe what you're suggesting is that they would, it would be more expensive, more costly than they envisaged? Joseph is talking about opportunity cost may not be engaging for all students. Spending money could have been more efficiently spent elsewhere. Higher budget deficit, says Charlie, may mean increased borrowing. Sheila might increase the budget deficit since the government will have to employ skilled maths professors, yes, and pay them high wages, which may be costly and increase government debt in the long run. Great. I can see, that you're really working on thinking about how you can extend the argument here, which is really good to see. Let's see what couple of brief points we've got for you there. We have got, okay, there's an opportunity cost here, first of all, that it may lead to lower skills in other areas, such as the arts or the humanities, because those resources are being diverted into maths education. So maybe that's another aspect of the opportunity cost. Cameron was suggesting another opportunity cost there of spending on other infrastructure, such as healthcare, which may produce more positive externalities than the math study. Yeah, okay, that would work as well. And there is the classic idea of the time lag, which can often be applied to these kind of policies. What we've tried to go on to do here is to explain something about what that time lag is. So to encourage you, rather than just say there will be a time lag with this, okay, why and what will it mean? And I think we've just added in here that it will be at least 3 years before those improvements can be realised and can sort of come through in the economy. It's not a quick fix, is it? It's going to take time to implement the plan, and then 2 years in order to deliver those increased math skills just to the first batch of 16 to 18-year-olds coming through the system. Some really great ideas. Thank you very much. Keep working on those ideas of how to use economic theory and use it to write up your answers, as Kathy takes you through the evalual question for tonight.
Yes, those were some great answers, weren't they, Penny? So we're going to come on now to the final activity of the evening, and it's another one that requires you to think. So if you're not familiar with this activity, the way it works is that you're going to see a line of argument that a student has made as part of an answer to an essay question. And then the random evaluate wheel is going to select a possible line of evaluation for you to add. And you'll see some examples along the bottom here. Right, John, could we see our line of argument then? So this is what our student has said. So the rise in UK corporation tax from 19% to 25% will provide government with greater tax revenue. This can be used to help repay the large increase in debt which occurred during the pandemic when government was providing emergency funds to businesses. So this is the argument that we're going to evaluate. John, could you spin the wheel for us, please? Let's see what our evaluation needs to begin with. And it's however. So what I'd like you to do is to think about what possible alternative views can be given, starting with however. So add them to the chat. They don't need to be long. They can be longer if you want them to be. But if you've just got a quick starter comment, then do feel very free to add that. So evaluative comments, starting with however, and remember they need to evaluate the student argument. So I'll give you some thinking time and some typing time for this one. As Penny said, really important to have alternative viewpoints in your writing. So we've got from Hannah, the first one coming in. This would result in businesses, especially small businesses, suffering. That's a very valid point, isn't it? William's saying the burden of the tax can be passed on to consumers. So corporation tax is a direct tax, so it might be worth thinking about exactly how that would happen. Joseph, it would be discouraging for firms' investment and may lead to a reduction in investment and therefore a fall in growth. Sheila's saying negative effects as well. Again, disincentive effects, especially inward foreign direct investment. Charlie, I don't think I had Charlie's there. Higher corporation tax will reduce retained profits for firms, which will reduce their ability to invest. And Razor had increasing corporation tax increases costs of production for firms. Again, I think it's always worth remembering corporation tax is a direct tax. You need to be very clear when it's a tax on profits and when it's a tax like VAT that will impact your costs of production. Brilliant answers from everyone. John, what answers did we have? Okay, so the answer we had, there's a risk that the higher rate will be a disincentive for business investment. So this is a point that lots of you had. That incentive, main reason for reducing the rate to 19%. And it's possible that some businesses may move to other countries with lower corporation tax rates in order to reduce their tax liabilities. So really well done, everybody. Some exceptionally good evaluative comments there. I can see everybody is back on screen now, so I'll hand back to John.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Penny, both for a wonderful, wonderful presentation tonight. And thank you, of course, to everybody who's given us some responses tonight. Let me read out a few thank you, a few shout outs. Forgive me if I don't get your name here. Reza, Joseph, Charlie, Hannah, Sheila, James, Riash, Miriam, Cameron, Alice, William. Seriously, I think there was somebody called that on the chat window. Seriously, thank you so much for your responses tonight. It's been really, really valuable. Wonderful and great because we had lots of differences of opinion on some of those questions, which hopefully means those of you who have got slightly, if your answers were incorrect, it'll give you a little bit of food for thought. And a quick reminder to you, of course, that the presentation, the PowerPoint that we've just been using can be downloaded as soon as we've finished this live stream, as well as you can rewatch this entire video. If you found tonight useful, please do give us a thumbs up in YouTube. That helps us get our message out to as many people as we possibly can. We're back on again next Tuesday. We're back to some microeconomics next week. So if you're revising your microeconomics, or you're thinking about what did you cover in your first year 12 of microeconomics, we'll be looking at some of the topics on that next week. Again, a big thank you to Kathy, big thank you to Penny. Wonderful presentation, wonderful responses. Enjoy the rest of your Halloween evening, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.